Alright, so this is a very bad angle, but that is my Tower of Shame, but I'm gonna call it my Skyscrapers of Doom now. Basically, these are all the books that I have to haul for you guys. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now for today's video, I'm going to be doing a massive book haul. We're going to see how many books I can run through in this book haul. I'll try to give you guys a quick synopsis of what the book is because I find that book hauls are really stupid if it's just showing you the cover and then not giving you much about the synopsis of the book. But then again, I understand why a lot of people do it. I sometimes do it too because there's just so many books to show you and it's really hard to run through all of them very quickly without making this video super long and making it an hour long. A lot of these books I purchased myself, but then I also have a whole stack of books that were gifted to me from the publishers that I will love to definitely thank. So let's get started. All right, so the first two books that I want to talk about are these two books that were actually sent to me from the publisher. The publisher is Poppy Pub, and basically I was really intrigued when they first messaged me because they told me that they are a publisher of Korean novels that have been recently translated into English. Now, if you guys are new to my channel, you guys would probably not know, but I'm a huge fan of K-pop and Korean dramas and Korean culture, and I always wanted to read more books written in Korean first and then translated into English. Obviously, I don't know how to read Korean, so I'm really intrigued by these English translated novels. Anyways, so the first book in the series is called Just the Two of Us. It follows our doctor hero and our heroine who didn't really know what she wanted to do with her life, but she created her own business, which is to make lunch boxes. And she actually delivers lunch boxes to his hospital, and that's how they meet and that's how they fall in love. This is book one in the series. What's really interesting is that book number two is called Just the Two of Us, and it follows the same couple, which is really cool, and you get to see the continuation of their relationship from book number one and how their family are accepting of their relationship. This is really awesome because like normally we only get one standalone novel and we don't really get a follow-up to see how they have the perfect happily ever after. The next book that I have to haul is a new Sarah MacLean novel called Bombshell. The funny story about this one is that I actually ordered 2 copies of this book and I had to return another copy, but this one has a beautiful back cover. Honestly, I feel like every historical romance novel that's being printed nowadays should have a beautiful back cover like this if they're not going to do a step back, but this one is a new Sarah MacLean novel for her Hell's Bells series, and this is a brother's best friend trope. Our heroine kind of gets herself into trouble a lot and our hero always tries to rein her back in so that she doesn't cause a huge mess for her family. Now, the next historical romance that I do have is one from Source Books Casa. They sent me like a huge box of historical romances that I'm going to show you next, but this one is called Rules for Heiresses. This one comes out in October 2021. It's by Emily Howard, and this is book 2 in her series that I don't know the name of yet, but this one follows our heroine who needs to get married. She does not want to get married, and you know, consequences happen and she throws herself into the arms of our hero who just learned that he is a duke and that he needs a notable wife. So what better to happen to him on his first day back into town by finding someone that he could marry right off the bat. The next historical romance that Source Books Casa sent me was actually book number 2 in the Shapeshifters of the Beaumont series by Susanna Allen. This one's called A Most Unusual Duke. This is a paranormal and historical romance novel. This one features our duke who is actually a shifter, and then we have our heroine who is a widow and she knows all about the shifting madness and she wants nothing a part of it because her late husband was actually a shifter, but of course they both have faded love and now this is their romance. So the next novel that they did send me was this one called Fortune Favors the Duke by Kristen Whedon, and this one comes out in December 2021. This one follows our heroine who is actually engaged to our hero's older brother, but unfortunately our hero's other brother passes away tragically and suddenly, and then now she is left grieving, but then she suddenly realizes that maybe she has been dating the wrong duke all along and she should have maybe dated his younger brother. The next one that I do have is a new one from Jane Ashford. This one's called The Duke Who Loved Me. It's part of the Duke Estates novel. I think this is the first book in the series. This basically involves our hero who doesn't really know how to take care of his estate, so he asks a family friend who is our heroine, and she's really good with business and they have a friendship going on, so this one is definitely a friends to lovers romance. The next one that I do have to show you is called A Wolf in the Duke's Clothing by Susanna Allen, and now this one is the first book in the series that I just talked about, and this this one involves our hero, who is a duke, and he is a shapeshifter. He shifts into a wolf, and our heroine doesn't want to get married, but of course they have a very strong attraction to each other. I actually read this one already, and I actually didn't really like it, so I'm excited for book number 2 though, to see if book number 2 was anything better than book number 1. This was also sent to me from Sourcebooks Casa. I already received another copy of this. I think this is my 3rd copy of this book, but I'm so excited to read it anyways. This one's called The Princess Stakes by Emily Howard. This is book number 1 in her series that I also just talked about that I forgot the name of, but this one involves a royal romance. Our princess needs to run away from her country because the country revolted and now they want to kill her, so she has to leave as soon as possible, and the only ship that's leaving is her ex-boyfriend's ship. So then now she has to go make amends with him, and it's a second chance romance. That sounds so angsty and so good. The next one that I do have to show you is also from Sourcebooks Casa. This one is from Anna Harrington, called The Inconvenient Duke. I actually read this novel too. I thought it was an okay novel, but I heard that the second book was really good from my friend Jessica from Peace Love Books, so I'm really excited to pick up that one. But this one involves a secret society for ladies who are doing like these different charity works and like good things to help the women in society get freed away from abuse. So this one is definitely a very dark novel about females who have to suffer a lot of pain and endure a lot of things back in the olden days. And then our hero has a younger sister that died mysteriously, and the one person he does not trust is his younger sister's best friend, who just so happens to be our heroine. And our heroine can't really tell him what actually happened to the younger sister, simply because if she tells him, then the whole society would crumble and fall apart. So I received the second novel in the series called The Unexpected Earl, and this one follows a second chance romance. Our hero had to give up our heroine a few years ago, but then now he's back into the same town because he needs to stop a criminal group that is going to be putting her in danger. So now this is the story of them protecting each other, or at least him being protective of her and her keeping her secret that she's part of this secret society for ladies. So the next book that I picked up is this one called How to Fail at Flirting by Denise Williams. I actually picked this one up from my library, but I wanted to own a physical copy of the book. Denise Williams is a new to me author that I picked up this year, and I really like her writing. I feel like it's really easy to sink into, and she has a way of making her words sound very fluid. I loved this one because our heroine actually dealt with abuse. So basically she was emotionally abused by her ex-boyfriend. She didn't really know it at the time that she was being gaslighted until she got out of that relationship, and she suffered a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of mental illnesses from that relationship. So she's really scared to put herself out there again and to date. And I really enjoyed the story because she met this man who was clearly really wonderful for her, but then what happened was that she realizes that he is a business partner at the firm that she works at, and that there is a conflict of interest. So the next novel that I did pick up is this YA novel called Love Boat Taipei by Abigail Hin Wang. And now this one is a book that a lot of people told me that they really loved, especially from the HarperCollins team here in Canada. I picked this one up myself. I paid for it. I specifically waited for them to release a paperback because it was cheaper, but I was always intrigued to read this one. This one is about 4 people who are in Taipei, Taiwan, and they have a friendship, and they each have their own individual goals and their own objectives, their own plot lines and everything, and then somehow they all intertwine. So I feel like this one is going to be really enjoyable. There's also a second book coming out soon called Love Boat Reunion. The next novel that I did pick up, I think this is actually my second copy on my shelf already, so I'm an idiot, but this one is called When You Wish Upon a Duke by Charisse Michaels, and this cover is simply gorgeous and stunning. And I think what Lenora Bell told me on one of the Instagram lives that I did with her was that Charisse Michaels is actually rewriting fairy tales into her historical romances. So this one is actually, I think, Tinkerbell romance. So this one sounds really interesting. Basically, our heroine is a travel agency person. She takes people out and lets them explore the lands, and our hero really desperately needs a tour guide. So of course they both travel together a lot. So this one sounds really interesting and really fun. I can't wait to pick this one up. The next novel that I do have is Battle Royale by Lucy Parker. This one sounds really fun too as well, if you guys are really into baking romances. Basically, we have a royal family, we have a royal baker, and our heroine is a really great baker, and she was on this like cupcake baking show, but then what happened was that she ruined her masterpiece, and the judge, who is our hero, voted her off. So they kind of have this love-hate relationship. It's an enemies to lovers romance, and now they are both baking for the royal family. So it sounds really good. Now I really want cupcakes. Then I picked up a royal romance called The Royals Next Door by Karina Halley, and now this one was praised and loved by my friend Jessica from Peace Love Books, so I'm excited to dive into this. This one follows our heroine, who is an elementary school teacher, which I'm already in love with because I secretly want to go back to school to become an elementary school teacher because I just want to hang out with kids that aren't mine. But basically our heroine is an avid romance reader, and she is intrigued by the fact that a royal family is actually moving in next door to her house, and she keeps like spying around, I guess, and then the royal bodyguard is there to just keep stopping her, and this is the romance between her and the bodyguard. So creepy season is happening very soon, and I got a huge stack of creepy thriller novels from Sourcebooks Fire, which is like the YA division. So if Madison is watching this right now, thank you so much for sending me these books. But the first book that I got is called The Last Beautiful Girl, and this one actually came out in September already. This one follows our heroine who moves to New York City in a small town, and she's not thrilled because the old mansion is a little bit creepy. And basically she is really into fashion, she's really into dressing up, but then suddenly something happens in the house, and now the house is turning against her. It sounds like something really sinister is in the house, and there's like kind of a more stronger energy than it once was. The next novel that I have from them is called The Violent Season by Sarah Walters. Now this one sounds like a YA novel based on the adult thriller, you know, gory film series franchise called The Purge. Basically, there is this one season in this town where a lot of gruesome, violent murders and violent actions take place where people just get really angry. So this is the story of that, where people are being put in danger by other people and they're just growing very angry at each other and possibly hurting each other. So the next novel that I received from them is Seven Dirty Secrets by Natalie D. Richards, and this one involves a mystery thriller aspect. Basically, our two characters are sent onto this massive scavenger hunt, trying to figure out these clues that are being left behind by someone who is very mysterious. They don't know who it is, but it all leads to one person who actually died, and it was like an unsolved murder case. So really scary and perfect for the fall season. Then the next one that I have is called The Grim Rose Girls by Laura Paul, and this one follows the storyline of like an academy of girls, or like a school of girls, and this one girl dies and the police ruled it as a suicide, but nobody really believes that it was a suicide because things aren't added up. And then a new girl comes in, and then they suddenly start to question each other, and a lot of things start happening. It sounds really creepy because everybody's just turning against each other. The next novel that I have to show you is this one from Grace Calloway. She was kind enough to send me book number 2 in her Lady Charlotte's Society of Angels series. This one's called Pippa and the Prince of Secrets, and this involves our female heroine. She's one of the friends in the 3-friend group, so this is book number 2. Basically, she is a widow. She has like no idea of what she wants to do for the rest of her life, except for the fact that she wants to continue training at the Lady Charlotte Society of Angels Club, and she wants to solve crime, you know, do all that thing. She doesn't want to marry anymore, but then in walks in her love of her life from her childhood days, and now she's having second thoughts, and our hero is hiding a lot of secrets too. You know, he is also fighting crime in the city as well. The next novel that I have to show you is also from Sourcebooks Fire. This one's called The Pickup by Miranda Kennelly, and now this one involves two characters who meet at a certain happenstance, like it just happens. And what happened is that they both called a ride share, and then she hops into the back seat of the car, and then she sees him and they strike up a conversation. They both have different like goals in life. I think this book kind of takes place within like a whole day where they kind of just have fun together and they learn more about each other. The next novel that I have to show you is also from Sourcebooks Fire. This one's called Blame It on the Mistletoe by Beth Gerald, and this one comes out in November 2021. So this one is kind of like a remake of The Holiday, starring Cameron Diaz, Jack Black, Jude Law, and Kate Winslet. This one involves our two characters who are going to swap houses and go into different countries, like leave Britain and go to USA, and USA go to Britain. So this one sounds really fun. I'm really excited to reading this during the holiday season. So I picked up a thriller because I used to read a lot of thrillers, but recently this whole year I haven't read anything, but I did read every single thriller novel from Sherry Lapina. This one is her latest one called Not a Happy Family. It involves a happy family. They have dinner together, but then the parents are brutally murdered. And then now the three adult children are about to inherit all the money from their parents, and they think that, you know, they were a happy family, but maybe there was something else and that they weren't happy after all. And then we have to find out who the killer is. And it sounds really interesting. It's like her thriller novels are always family drama related, and I still love it so much, and I'm eating it all up. So I also picked up another thriller novel called The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. Oh god. He's the author of The Silent Patient. I never read The Silent Patient, but I'm really interested in reading it because a lot of people loved it on Thriller BookTube. He is a Greek tragedy professor, and basically everybody suspects that he is a murderer, and then now our heroine has to find the clues, find the evidence to prove him guilty that he is a killer. So it sounds really interesting too as well. So the next novel that I have for you is this one is a romance novel called The Paris Connection by Lorraine Brown. This one sounds really cute and really romantic. Basically, our heroine has a boyfriend and they both are going on taking a train to go to Amsterdam, but then they didn't know that their train would split. One half will go to Amsterdam and then the other half will go to Paris. And she is stuck going to Paris without her boyfriend. She doesn't have any money. She doesn't have any belongings, and she's stuck on this train. And there she meets this Frenchman who is very grumpy and who's really angry and blames her and says that it's her fault for the delay. And they spark up a conversation and they end up maybe falling in love with each other. So I don't know, it sounds really cute. I always wanted to go to Paris. I always wanted to travel in Europe, and this is the perfect book for that. So Sourcebooks Fires has been really kind enough to send me like a lot of books in the past few weeks and past few months, and I got a copy of Neon Gods Katie Robert. I got this one that was our copy already, so now I have the finished copy. I read it, I really liked it. It's a Persephone's and Hades retelling. Then I got a copy of Freed by E.L. James. I haven't read book number 2 and book number 3 yet. That was told from Christian Grey's perspective, because honestly I feel like the series is so like boring from Christian's perspective because it's such a money grab. It's just literally like his perspective, nothing really changes. So I don't know if I'm going to read this one. It's quite thick, but you know what, it's great to have it on my shelf just in case I wanted to read it. Then I have this one, which is a spicy novel from Adriana Anders. This one's called Under Her Skin. This one sounds really cool. I think it has something to do with tattoos and the reason why she survived, so it definitely is a darker romance. And then we have this one called Against the Ropes by Sarah Castell, and I think this one involves our heroes who are part of a martial arts club, so there's like a lot of fighting involved. And then we have this like really hot and like sexy one, I guess, by Olivia Cutting called Hot Ticket, and it looks like this one has a lot of BDSM themes as well. So I picked up Suzanne Parks' latest novel called So We Meet Again. This one follows an investment banker who gets fired from her job and she has to realize what she wants to do for the rest of her life. She decides to go back home to lick her wounds, and there she starts her own business, and she also falls in love with the guy that she thought she hated, but turns out he's really sweet and he's totally willing to help her start her business. Then we have this other romance novel that is kind of like a finance romance novel. This one's called Delilah Suits Up by Amanda Askell, and this one follows our female heroine who tries to get a high-profile finance job, but she feels like she's always getting turned down because of her sex. And then one day Freaky Friday happens and she gender swaps and she becomes a man, and now she's landing all the jobs that she wanted and she's playing with the big boys now. The next one that I picked up is called The Life Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, and I know a lot of people love this book already, so I need to jump on it and get reading on this one. This one follows our third-year PhD candidate female heroine. She wants to prove love, so she kisses the one person she sees first, and it just so happens to be the young hotshot professor that she hates. So this is an enemies to lovers romance. From the things I've seen on Book Talk and from the things I'm hearing around, this one's a very spicy novel, and it's probably comparable to The Love Quotient from Helen Hong. I was sent this book for a Instagram book tour from Booksparks. This one is called The Marriage Code by Brooke Burrows, and this one follows our heroine who is really good at coding, and she decides that she's going to help our hero finds someone suitable for marriage, so she's gonna code a program to find him the perfect wife. Then I got the latest novel from the same author called Book Burrows, and this one's called The Name Curse, and basically these two characters have lots of things going on in their lives, so they decide to embark on a new adventure, and they go camping in this like wilderness that is set up by like this company, and they both camp next to each other, and this is where they meet and they discuss what is actually happening in their lives and what is bothering them. Then the next few novels I did pick up were books that are based on Jane Austen retellings. Yes, I know that these covers are not the best, and I do have one that's based on Emma, but I think I put it downstairs, but just imagine that I have the fourth copy here too as well. But the first book is called Engaging Mr Darcy. This one's by Rachel John, or all of them are by Rachel John, but they're Jane Austen retelling. So this one is Pride and Prejudice, obviously. And this one's called Dashing into Disaster. And this one is a Sense and Sensibility retelling. And then we have one that's called Persuading the Captain, which is a persuasion retelling. I just wanted to note that I really do like these romances, even though the covers are awful and that they are kind of clean, like nothing really like, sexy happens, but I like it. I like it that they're clean. They're very short and very sweet and very fluffy. All my book buying is usually done when I'm really sad and very depressed, or when I'm just bored and at the mall. So I ended up picking these 3 books that were, I think, 3 for $10 at Chapters Indigo. This one's called The Cozy Coffee Shop of Promises by Kelly Haley's, and I don't know, this one is just about someone who's starting their cozy little coffee shop, and it's one of their dreams, but then the problem is that her mother is coming to town and now she needs an instant boyfriend fast, so she actually hires her business rival to be her fake boyfriend, and this is a fake dating trope. This one is called Lost and Found in Paris, and I'm already sold because it takes place in Paris. Basically what happens is that our female heroine gets dumped by her boyfriend, and then now she goes to this family macaroon shop in Paris, and there she sees that her ex-boyfriend is there, so maybe they can make amends and that they can fall back in love with each other. I'm not sure. And then this one is called Wedding Bells at Villa Limoncello by Daisy James, and this one involves our heroine who has been fired from her very fancy job, and now she's going on vacation to forget about her problems and woes, and there she meets the handyman that's taking place of the place that she's staying in, and I think it's like a grumpy Miss Sunshine trope, so I'm very excited to read this. I think the last book that I'm going to show you for this giant haul is this one from Vanessa Kelly. This one's called The Brides of London, but it's like 2 books in one. It's called an Advertisements for Love collection. I think it's about like writers for the newspapers, but it includes 2 books called The Bittersweet Bride and also The Bashful Bride. And Vanessa Kelly is an author that I always wanted to read. She wrote a lot of indie historical romances, but I think Entangled bought some rights of it, so then now it's being printed. Look how big this book is. It looks so fun. I'm really intrigued by it. But anyways, that is it for all the books I want to show you in my giant book haul. As you can tell, once again, I never really touched the tower. I touched like the mini towers that were here in the back that I wasn't showing you because I was covering you, but I swear I did a great job and I showed you at least 10% of the books. But I'll see you guys again next time in a new book haul. Bye.